what have you made from some of the things that have been coming out of the owners' meetings from a Cowboys standpoint? Charles Robinson, Yahoo NFL Insider, on with the G-Bag Nation earlier today. But McCarthy spoke with the media. We've heard from Steven. We've heard from Jerry. Any overarching takeaways that you have?
Okay, so you know how KG said, like, I wanted us to have a good visit?
Mm-hmm.
I want us to have a good visit, so I don't want to go too negative, because I know people have been a little too worked up at how negative I've been about it. But I really feel like I'm not trying to just trend negative. I just feel like I'm trying to look at it like, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's whatever, it's whatever. And to me, it's like, okay, it's all just your generic talking points. Like, they're all clearly on message about, like, well, 3 for 1, and, oh, well, Amari, we had to do this or that, and, oh, we feel really good about this and that. And it's just like, okay, you guys have clearly all gotten your messaging straight, which is great, because there wasn't a whole lot of that right after the season ended, with McCarthy going on Rich Eisen and Jerry saying what he says at Senior Bowl. And so, I mean, it's good, I guess, that they've collectively got that together, but it's a little bit like, it's just words at this point. Like, I don't think there's anything you can get excited about that they've said. I don't think you'll feel better about anything that they've said. Just like, okay, that's fine if that's your position. It's not going to make anybody feel better about some of the moves that they didn't like, or if they liked the moves, thought you should have moved on from Amari or shouldn't have paid Randy Gregory. You're already going to feel good about that. There's nothing that's going to chase you off of that position. So I feel like it's just been a lot of, to put it kindly, a lot of hot air so far. It speaks to this point that I've made recently, that the Cowboys are just in a very, neutral, tread water, almost like purgatory, boring position right now. And, not that football's boring or anything else, or that the Cowboys aren't the number one brand. It's just where they're at right now is like, I think everybody's just fed up with the bluster and the rhetoric and the lack of results and the, doing just enough to stay relevant without actually making an impact for 26 years. And so I think that, everybody's just kind of reached their breaking point with it and going, okay, great. They're going to say what they're going to say, but I'm ready to just see it.
I think, Bobby, and I think definitely speaks to a lot of how Cowboys fans are feeling. It's just, I think for people, the way that the organization has gone about their business relative to the amount of information now that fans can consume or they can get on their own, or things like Spotrac, who can put out articles showing how the Cowboys can free up space. Like, all these things are out there. It just feels like, I think for a lot of fans, that their intelligence is being insulted when you hear Stephen Jones or read Stephen Jones saying things like, hey, we couldn't keep both Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup if we decided to keep, we couldn't keep both of them. And we decided, obviously, to do what they did. I think that's where a lot of fans are feeling like their intelligence is being insulted. Is that a bad assumption, or is that how you think or perceiving fans, or how they're feeling right now?
No, I think that's the majority of fans. I think you're right. I think that, obviously, again, there's some fans who I think are totally cool with the way the Cowboys are approaching this. And I don't want to say they're being homers about it or anything else, but they're clearly in line with the way that the Joneses and the Cowboys are thinking about these moves. And that's fine if you think that way. But if you think that way, don't get upset that the majority doesn't agree with you right now. The majority is upset about a lot of this stuff. The majority sees things that the Rams do to preserve their talent. Now, they've had to move on from some people too, but they didn't, move on from every conceivable big contract like the Cowboys sort of did. The Packers did things. Now, again, they had to move on from some people. Partially Devontae Adams didn't want to stay there. But they did what they had to do to keep some bigger pieces in place. Preston Smith and Aaron Rodgers and keeping some of those, some of the nucleus together. And so I think that's what's frustrating to people, is that you took these steps back, and what did you get in return? I'm not saying James Washington can't be a nice contributor, or Dante Fowler can't be a nice contributor. I think I wouldn't be stunned if they turned out to be really good value buys. But they aren't the top tier, and you got rid of top tier money for what? Like what? They kept talking all this week so far about, we didn't think we were getting enough bang for our buck, essentially, and we wanted to get more out of that, and so now we have some more flexibility with cash to do what? Sign Brian Anger? Great. I wanted Brian Anger back too, but that can't be it. That can't be all you do with that. There's got to be an end game here, and if that end game is even just rolling over the cap space, fine, say that. Say, we're done with our moves. We're going to get up to the 95% threshold of spending to your cap that you need to, and then you want to hold on to it to roll it over into the cap in 2023. If that's the case, fine, say that. Don't say that's money to spend on people that we know you're not going to spend it on.
It's Bobby Belt with us here in the Nosebleed Seats on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. What about Mike McCarthy today saying that they feel like this particular draft class has at least 50 to 60 more quote-unquote draftable players than most drafts? Is that something that you feel like is widely considered to be true, or are they?
No, that's 100% true. That's not bluster. You had so many people take advantage of the extra year with COVID. So many people who decided not to come out because of the COVID year in 2020 and how they felt like, okay, well, I didn't really get a full season or didn't get to put out the film that I wanted to. I guess I'll come back for the senior year. You had a bunch of people choose to come back for a senior year instead of leaving after their junior year. You had people who became fifth-year seniors because they decided to take on an extra year of eligibility. And so I think that, you naturally had a lot more draftable prospects. I can't remember if it was you guys I said this with or I talked about it with G-Bag. It may have been both, honestly. It's one of those things where, typically, like they mentioned, you're only going to have so many draftable grades on guys, and it's not going to be nearly as many as there are picks in the draft. And so you tend to luck out when it's like, oh, hey, we got a guy with a draftable grade as an undrafted free agent, or we got a couple of guys with draftable grades. I think that you're going to have more undrafted free agents that sign than in years past that end up having a draftable grade. It may just be a sixth or a seventh, but it's a draftable grade that you got as a priority free agent. And you may see some more of these values where it's like, hey, we're here in the sixth round and we got this blinking light at us of this guy who had a high fourth round grade. Like, this is great value for us. And it's just because I think while it's not a top heavy draft, it is a very deep draft. And I think the scouting staff has done enough to prove their worth and to gain Cowboys fans pretty much, unquestionable trust that I think that's a really great setup in this type of an environment with as deep as it is, that you can trust the staff will go out there and make some really solid picks. And I think that's what the Cowboys are leaning on. They talk about, well, we got the draft coming up and we can do this and that. And so I think they are leaning on the quality of their scouting staff, especially given how many players are available in this draft who are going to have draftable grades. And so to play devil's advocate, and by devil's advocate, I mean, just take the side of the Cowboys against the fans right now, it may not be a terrible strategy to say we think we can really build up, some solid extra personnel moves just by standing pat and picking in the draft.
Our Dallas Cowboys insider Bobby Belt joining us right here on the Nosebleed Seats on 105.3 The Fan. So with obviously starting to get closer to the draft, we're now going to be less than a month away from the draft starting tomorrow. Any news or update about Dallas Day, their day to host prospects and individuals who they may be looking to potentially draft? Do we have an update on when that will be for the Dallas Cowboys?
Friday. The Cowboys will host that Friday at the Star. And so basically what they can do is they can invite anybody from the Dallas metropolitan area, which is a really vague description. Like, sometimes the Cowboys have to call the league office and say, hey, if this kid went to high school in this city, does that count as our metropolitan area? So they're not even always sure all the time. But basically anybody who the NFL considers went to school in the Dallas metropolitan area, which is going to be Dallas County, Tarrant County, and then, Denton County and up a little bit into Frisco and up towards Prosper. Like that's generally the area that we're talking about here. Maybe a little south of Dallas, a little south of Tarrant. But so anybody who went to high school or that was their hometown in that area, the Cowboys are free to invite for this day of basically a large pro day with several prospects, and anybody who attended college in this area. So that would be SMU and TCU. So a couple of the players we know are going to be there. The two SMU receivers, Reggie Roberson, Danny Gray, they're going to be there on Friday. Kyron Johnson, who spoke with the Nosebleeds previously, who came in the studio from Kansas, freaky athletic linebacker. He went to high school in Arlington, so he'll be there. Who else do we have that's on that list? There's some other names that we're compiling and working on, but I would expect there's going to be a pretty decent amount of prospects there that they'll be able to get an extra look at. And that's one of the benefits of being here in Dallas and having the great high school football scene that we do, is that it gives us an edge over other NFL cities. Houston, Dallas, Miami, these are cities that have a real big advantage this time of year.
What'd you make quickly, Bobby, of the overtime rule changes? Fan or not fan?
Better than it was, but my position still is play an extra quarter. I think that's the most fair resolution. But I also think that, like, with all the, hard hits, PR hits the NFL's taking over, concussion issues and player safety and stuff like that, I think it's hard to justify, like, we'll just make them play an extra quarter. Like, have them, put their bodies on the line, just, like, going further, an extra 15 minutes. So they already get hammered pretty hard for the Thursday game turnaround, and so I don't know how easy of a sell that would be. And I don't know that the players' union would necessarily want to go with something like that. So that would be my solution, but since that's not going to happen, I think this is better, at least.